Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If this is your first time here, I'm really glad you found us, because today we're diving into something truly special. One performance, one voice, and one interpretation that has touched the hearts of millions around the world. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever heard a song that felt like it wasn't just being sung, but truly lived? A song where every word feels like it carries emotion, history, and meaning all at the same time? That's exactly what happens when we talk about Gianluca Ginoble and his interpretation of the timeless classic Il Mondo. Now, if you're already a fan of Il Volo, you probably know that each member brings something unique to the group. The trio is made up of three incredibly talented singers, Gianluca Ginoble, Piero Baroni, and Ignazio Boschetto. Each voice has its own color, its own emotional weight, and its own storytelling style. But today we're focusing on something many fans often notice during live performances: the particular way Gianluca interprets Il Mondo. So let's take a moment and think about the song itself. Il Mondo is not just another classic Italian song. Originally performed by Jimmy Fontana in the 1960s, it became one of those rare songs that transcends generations. The melody is elegant, the lyrics are poetic, and the emotion is universal. It speaks about the world continuing to move forward, about love, about reflection, about the quiet moments when life feels both beautiful and mysterious. Now imagine standing on a stage in front of thousands of people and singing a song that already carries decades of emotional history. That's not an easy task, but somehow every time Gianluca Ginoble approaches this song, he brings something personal to it. One of the first things people notice about Gianluca's interpretation is his vocal tone. His voice has a warmth that feels almost conversational, yet it carries the power of classical technique. When he begins a phrase in Il Mondo, it doesn't feel rushed. Instead, it feels like he's inviting the listener into the story. And that's something fascinating about great performers. They don't just sing notes, they guide you through emotion. Think about the opening moments of the song. The melody begins gently, almost like a quiet reflection. When Gianluca Ginoble sings those lines, there's a calm confidence in his delivery. It's as if he's standing in the middle of the stage, looking out at the audience and sharing a memory rather than performing a routine. But here's where things get even more interesting. Interpretation in music is not just about how loud or soft you sing. It's about phrasing, timing, breath, and emotional intention. Gianluca often stretches certain notes just enough to add emotional depth without breaking the flow of the melody. That subtle control is something fans of classical crossover music really appreciate. And if you've ever watched a live performance of Il Volo performing Il Mondo, you might have noticed something else. While the trio sings together beautifully, each singer's personality still shines through. Piero Baroni often brings dramatic intensity to a song. His voice carries a powerful operatic strength that commands attention. Ignazio Boschetto adds richness and emotional resonance with his warm tenor tone. But when it's Gianluca's moment in Il Mondo, the atmosphere often shifts into something quieter and more reflective. His interpretation feels intimate, almost like he's telling a story directly to you. And that's something incredibly powerful in music. In a huge concert hall filled with thousands of people, making someone feel like the performance is personal to them, that's a rare skill. Let's think about the lyrics of the song for a moment. Il Mondo talks about the world continuing its rhythm while someone pauses to reflect on love and life. The imagery is poetic, describing the night, the moon, and the quiet feeling of being alone with your thoughts. When Gianluca Ginoble interprets those words, he doesn't rush through them. Instead, he allows each phrase to breathe. And breathing in music is everything. The pauses between notes can be just as emotional as the notes themselves. If you watch closely during performances, you'll also notice Gianluca's stage presence during Il Mondo. He doesn't rely on dramatic gestures or exaggerated movements. Instead, his expressions are subtle: a slight smile, a focused gaze. Sometimes he closes his eyes briefly, as if he's feeling the meaning of the lyric in that exact moment. Those small details create authenticity. Fans often say that watching Gianluca Ginoble perform feels natural rather than rehearsed, even though, of course, every performance requires preparation. Another beautiful aspect of his interpretation is how he blends classical influence with modern emotion. Il Mondo has roots in traditional Italian music, but Gianluca's voice gives it a contemporary sensitivity that resonates with younger audiences. That's part of the magic of Il Volo as a whole. They respect the heritage of Italian music while introducing it to a new generation of listeners around the world. And let's talk about the emotional climax of the song. As the melody builds, the orchestra grows richer and the vocals become more powerful. This is where interpretation becomes especially important. A singer has to balance power with control. Too much force can break the emotion, too little energy can weaken the impact. But when Gianluca reaches those higher moments in the song, he maintains a balance that feels both strong and sincere. The sound fills the room, yet the emotion still feels personal. That's not easy to achieve. In fact, it's something that usually comes from years of experience performing live. Remember, Gianluca Ginoble began performing professionally at a very young age when the trio first formed through the television show Ti lascio una canzone. Since then, he has performed on some of the most prestigious stages in the world, and every performance adds another layer of maturity to his interpretation. Songs evolve with the artist. The version of Il Mondo he sings today carries more depth than the one he sang years ago because his life experiences, emotions, and understanding of music have grown. That's something fans often love about following artists over time. You don't just hear the same performance repeated, you hear the evolution of interpretation. You hear how the artist grows with the music. And Il Mondo is the perfect song for that kind of growth because its message is timeless. The world keeps moving. Life keeps changing. Love, memories, and reflections stay with us. So every time Gianluca sings it, he adds a new layer of meaning. Sometimes it feels nostalgic, sometimes hopeful, sometimes quietly emotional, and that's why audiences around the world continue to connect with it. But now I want to hear from you. When you listen to Gianluca Ginoble singing Il Mondo, what do you feel? Do you feel nostalgia, peace, emotion, or does the song remind you of a special moment in your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I'd love to read your experiences and hear how this beautiful song connects with you. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Gianluca's interpretation and the magic behind this timeless performance, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next video where we explore more incredible musical moments. So tell me in the comments, what part of Il Mondo gives you chills every time you hear it? And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe and join our growing community of music lovers. And here's something even more beautiful about the way Gianluca Ginoble performs Il Mondo. It never feels exactly the same twice. Even though the melody stays the same and the lyrics remain timeless, the emotion he brings can shift depending on the moment, the audience, and the atmosphere of the performance. Think about that for a second. Music becomes alive when a singer allows themselves to truly feel the song each time they perform it. And that's exactly what happens whenever Il Volo performs this classic piece. Sometimes Gianluca's voice carries a gentle softness that feels almost like a quiet reflection on life. Other times, there's a deeper intensity, as if the lyrics are speaking directly from his own heart. That emotional flexibility is what keeps audiences completely captivated. You can often see it in the audience's reaction. Some people close their eyes, others hold their breath during certain notes, and many fans say they feel chills the moment his voice reaches those soaring lines. It's not just a performance anymore. It becomes a shared emotional experience between the singer and everyone listening. And that's the true magic behind a timeless song.